What happens when the man who signs the checks starts scrubbing sweat-stained jerseys in the backroom? Derrick Grant stood outside the training facility of one of the 8 youth football academies he owned, tugging at the brim of his faded cap. He'd bought the club chain 8 years ago when it was on the verge of collapse. With hard work and smart hires, it had grown into a respected name for developing talent. But lately, things felt off. Complaints weren't pouring in, but there were murmurs, parents pulling kids mid-season, staff turnover ticking up. Nothing solid, but enough to gnaw at him. That's why he was here, posing as Rick, a temp from an equipment staffing agency. The disguise was easy beard grown out, thick glasses, and a plain uniform. He'd never met most of the staff personally. The coaches and assistants were hired by district managers, and each academy ran independently with their own crew. He was assigned to the East Side location, one of the oldest and busiest. Their laundry girl had quit last week, and no one wanted to do the job. A perfect way in. Inside, the smell of sweat and detergent hit him hard. "You Rick?" asked a girl with a high ponytail, barely looking up from scrubbing cleats. "Yeah, first day." Derrick kept his voice low. "Cool, I'm Maddie. Just toss those whites in bin 3, reds in bin 2. Don't mix M or Coach Tyler will lose it." He followed orders, keeping his head down and eyes open. The laundry room was tucked behind the locker rooms, close enough that every word from the hallway bounced off the walls. He'd been folding socks for barely 20 minutes when he heard it. "Can't stand half these kids," a man's voice growled. "They're slow, uncoachable, and soft. I wouldn't put half of them on a junior varsity team. It's pathetic." Derrick froze, a jersey in his hands. "Yeah, but some parents pay extra. Gotta keep them happy," another voice replied with a laugh. "That's the game, isn't it? Smile at the parents, lie to their face, then bench their kid until they give up." Derrick stepped closer to the door, heart thudding. "Coach Tyler's right," the second voice said again. "It's not about building players. It's about keeping the money flowing." That was enough. He leaned back against the washer, face burning. He didn't build this place to lie to parents or break kids down. He built it to give every kid a shot. Back in the hallway, the voices faded toward the field. Derrick caught a glimpse of Coach Tyler, tall, lean, clean-shaven, clipboard in hand, and the assistant walking beside him. Derrick clenched his jaw. He kept working through the rest of the day, folding, washing, listening. He met a few more staff: Maddie, the equipment tech, who hustled nonstop and covered for everyone. Jason, a quiet janitor who worked double shifts to support his niece. Every now and then, he heard more from the coaches. Nothing as harsh as before, but enough to know that Coach Tyler's attitude wasn't a one-time slip. That night, he sat in his car outside the facility, staring at the building through the windshield. He'd built these academies to be different, fair, honest, focused on the kids. Tomorrow he'd show up again, still Rick, still folding uniforms, but this time he'd start asking more questions, and if what he heard today kept happening, there'd be hell to pay. The next morning, Derrick arrived early before the sun pushed over the field's edge, before any kids started showing up. He didn't want to miss a second of what went on when no one thought they were being watched. Maddie was already there, refilling water bottles by the utility sink. Her hoodie sleeves were rolled up to her elbows, revealing a line of faded bruises along her left forearm. "You always get here this early?" he asked, keeping his tone easy. She gave a quick nod. "If I don't, no one sets up the cones or fills the coolers." "Tyler says it's not his job." She didn't say it with bitterness, more like someone stating the weather. Derrick reached for a stack of clean towels. "You ever get a day off?" She gave a dry laugh. "Tuesdays, technically. But if a delivery comes or the field floods, I'm here." He didn't push further. Instead, he followed her out toward the edge of the practice field, where the morning drills were about to start. Groups of kids stretched in uneven lines, some still yawning, others already bouncing on their toes. Coach Tyler stood dead center on the turf, pacing with his whistle swinging from one hand. His voice cut through the cool air. "Group 1 cones. Group 2 sprints. If I see anyone dragging, you're doing double laps." Derrick lingered by the fence, clipboard in hand as if checking inventory, but his eyes stayed on the field. A short boy, maybe 11, fumbled a pass during warm-up. Tyler pointed straight at him. "Lamar." You drop one more and you're off the first team this week. I don't care what your mom thinks she paid for." The kid barely nodded, face red, head down. A few yards away, another coach, a younger guy with a buzz cut and a gentle way with the kids, knelt beside a player adjusting his knee brace. The contrast was jarring. Derrick drifted closer. "You new today?" the man asked, glancing up. "Yeah, Rick, just doing support." "I'm Coach Ali. You with the agency?" Derrick nodded. "Just filling in." Ali stood, brushing off his hands. "We'll take all the help we can get." The schedule's been brutal lately. Tyler added 2 extra scrimmages a week without more staff. "Maddie's been covering everything," she mentioned. Ali hesitated, then lowered his voice. "She won't say it, but she's drowning. Been asking for another assistant since June." Corporate keeps saying they're reviewing budgets. Derrick's jaw tightened. He'd never denied a staffing request from Eastside. That meant it had been blocked before reaching him. A whistle blast pulled their attention back. Tyler was yelling again, this time at a taller boy who tripped during a lateral drill. "Do you even know how to run?" "That's basic coordination, Jalen. I've seen toddlers with more balance." The kid didn't respond. He just got up, brushing turf from his knees. Illy took a step forward, but Tyler waved him off. "He's fine. Let him toughen up." Derrick backed away before his face gave him away. He returned to the laundry room just as Jason arrived, pushing a mop bucket. They worked in silence for a while, folding towels and restocking shelves. After a few minutes, Derrick broke the quiet. "You been here long?" "Almost 3 years, Jason replied, not looking up. "You like it?" Jason paused, then shrugged. "I like the kids, not the hours, not the way some people talk to us." Derrick waited. Jason kept folding. "Tyler calls me background help like I'm furniture. Says it loud enough for the boys to hear sometimes. They laugh. Doesn't bother me much. I've heard worse." Derrick folded a jersey with extra care. "You ever report it?" Jason gave a tired smile. "To who?" "I clean lockers. I'm not a coach." "I'm not someone they listen to." The air in the room felt heavy. Later that afternoon, Derrick caught Maddie again near the storage shed, taping up a broken equipment crate. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, "Sometimes, but I like the kids. Some of them come in quiet, unsure. You watch them grow, you see it click. That keeps me here." He nodded slowly. But I'm not gonna lie, it's hard staying when it feels like people at the top stopped caring." That hit deeper than she knew. That evening, Derrick waited until the last kid was picked up before heading to the staff office. The door was cracked, and inside, Tyler sat at the desk, scrolling his phone while eating fast food. The assistant coach lounged nearby, feet on a chair. "You see that kid stumble during cones today," Tyler said between bites. "Told you he wasn't ready. His mom's been emailing me like crazy, wants him challenged, she says. She doesn't get that this isn't babysitting." The assistant laughed. "You gonna respond?" Tyler snorted. "Nah. She'll figure it out when he's benched next week." Derrick knocked once, stepped in, and put on a friendly tone. "Hey, Coach Tyler, need a minute?" Tyler looked up, mildly annoyed. "Yeah. I was wondering if I could get a list of the equipment inventory." "Maddie said you had the original files." Tyler waved toward a cabinet. "It's in there somewhere. Knock yourself out." Derrick opened the cabinet slowly, scanning the contents. It was a mess: crumpled papers, old receipts, half-empty folders. "You always keep your records like this?" he asked. Tyler shrugged, not bothering to look up. "It's not exactly Wall Street. We're not selling stock." The assistant chuckled again. Derrick pulled a file, flipping through. No equipment logs since April. No documentation on staff requests. No parent communication records. "You handle parent complaints directly?" he asked. Tyler finally looked at him. "Why are you asking so many questions? You're here to fold towels, not audit the program." Derrick closed the cabinet slowly. "That's fair." He turned and walked out. He spent the next 2 hours reviewing internal systems from his phone in the parking lot. Sure enough, Eastside's staff request from June had been marked low priority by a regional director who used to be Tyler's college teammate. Parent emails showed a dozen unresolved concerns about equal playtime, ignored injuries, and verbal treatment. None had been answered. The final straw came when he checked the academy's incident log. A parent complaint filed last month mentioned Tyler mocking a player's weight during drills. The document was marked "No action needed." Derrick stared at the screen until the battery icon blinked red. The next morning, he walked into the facility not as Rick, but as Derrick Grant, owner and CEO. Tyler was in the middle of organizing drills when Derrick stepped onto the turf. Players froze, a few coaches straightened up, Tyler blinked. "Can I help you?" Derrick's voice was calm. "Yeah, you can step off the field." "Excuse me, you're done here, Tyler." The assistant coach started to speak, but Derrick cut him off with a glance. "You too. Pack your things." Tyler stepped forward. "Now hold on, what is this?" Derrick didn't raise his voice. "I've watched you humiliate kids, ignore parents, and treat your staff like garbage. I've read the reports you buried. I've heard everything I needed to hear." "You're finished." Tyler opened his mouth, but no words came. Derrick turned to the players. "I'm Derrick Grant. I own this academy, and starting today, things change." He nodded to Maddie, standing frozen near the cones. "You're the new operations lead, effective immediately. We'll get you the support you've been asking for." He looked to Ali. "You're running practices for now. We'll get more help in by next week." A few kids whispered. One clapped softly. Derrick stepped back. "Let's get back to work." As the players returned to drills, the energy on the field shifted, subtle but real, less tension, more focus. Derrick stayed to watch the full session, arms crossed, eyes steady. He wasn't done. Not yet. But for the first time in a long while, the place felt like it used to. Like it was supposed to. Derrick stood in the Eastside Academy's office, its silence thick with the aftermath of what had just unfolded on the field. The desk was still scattered with papers from the former coaching staff, wrinkled attendance sheets, outdated practice plans, and an unopened envelope from corporate HR dated 3 weeks prior. He slid it aside. There were bigger problems than paperwork. He hadn't planned to reveal himself this early, but after what he'd seen and heard, there was no way he could justify staying quiet another day. The kids deserved better. The staff deserved better. He stepped out into the hallway. Maddie was speaking to the front desk receptionist, her voice low and cautious. "I'll take care of the field schedule for now," she said, "but I'm going to need clearance to submit supply orders. We're out of compression tape and down to 2 working ball pumps." The receptionist looked unsure. "I don't know if I have access for that." "You do now," Derrick said, approaching them. "Log her in. She'll have temp admin access until we get her fully onboarded." Maddie blinked, startled. "You're serious? You've earned it, but I'm not going to pretend it's going to be easy. You're still one person, and this place needs more than a new title to run right." "I understand." Her voice steadied. "I just want things to be fair, that's all." "Then let's start there." Down the corridor, a group of parents had gathered near the entrance. Word had spread fast. A few wore puzzled expressions, others cautious optimism. Derrick headed over. A tall man in a windbreaker stepped forward. "You're the owner, right?" "Yes, Derrick Grant. I'm Lamar's father. He's been coming here 2 years. I've tried to raise concerns before about how he was spoken to, about consistent benchings with no explanation. Never got a response." "You should have," Derrick said. "I read your message last night. You weren't overreacting." The man's shoulders relaxed slightly. "So what happens now?" "We're auditing all player assessments and redoing the team placement process, based on merit, starting next week." A woman beside him crossed her arms, "And the coaching staff replaced. We'll pull in temporary coaches from our other locations until Eastside has a new full-time team. The focus will be on development, skill, effort, discipline, not favoritism or intimidation." Another parent, a woman in scrubs, asked, "Will the kids know who to go to if there's a problem?" "We'll post a new contact sheet in the lobby today, real contact info, not a dead-end email address. Every concern will go to me and to our compliance officer." The parents exchanged glances. Some nodded. No one had more questions for now. Derrick turned back toward the indoor field. Players were wrapping up drills under Ellie's guidance. The energy had shifted. It wasn't louder or faster, but there was less tension in the air. Players moved with more focus, fewer glances over their shoulders, no barking from the sidelines, just instruction after practice. Derrick caught up with Ellie by the benches. "You staying on?" Ellie asked. "For a while," Derrick replied, "at least until things stabilize." "I didn't know who you were at first," Ellie admitted, "but I'm glad you came. These kids, they notice everything, especially how adults handle pressure." We're going to need more than just a few changes, Derrick said. You know anyone we can bring in on short notice? Illy thought for a moment. There's a former coach from the Southside Academy. Samira left after clashing with her site director. She was tough but fair. Players respected her. She didn't play politics. Reach out. If she's interested, we'll take her. By early afternoon, they had a plan, bare bones, temporary but better than what had been running. Illy would oversee training sessions. Maddie would handle operations and logistics. Derrick would stay on site to ensure follow-through. They'd triage problems day by day. Later, inside the break room, Derrick found Jason cleaning out a supply cabinet. The janitor looked over, then turned back to his task. You didn't have to come back, Jason said without looking up. I did, Derrick replied. I needed to see how deep the problems ran. Jason wiped down a shelf, moving deliberately. People don't usually ask me what I see. They think if you clean up after others, you must not notice much. I think you notice more than most. Jason paused, then nodded once. You should know some of the kids have been staying late, not for extra practice, just because they don't want to go home yet. No one's been checking on them. Derrick felt a weight settle in his chest. I'll make sure they're not slipping through the cracks. Jason's voice softened. They don't need much, just to know someone's watching out for them. Before Derrick could respond, Maddie appeared at the door, tablet in hand. We've got a situation, she said. Lamar's mom is here. She found out her son's been skipping meals on practice days because he's afraid of throwing up during drills. Derrick followed her to the lobby. A woman in a navy blouse stood near the vending machines, arms folded tight. He wouldn't eat breakfast this morning, she said as soon as she saw him. Said he didn't want to get called weak again. I had no idea it was that bad. I'm sorry, Derrick said. No one should be making your son feel that way. It won't happen again. I'm pulling him out, she said, though her voice cracked. I can't leave him here if it's going to destroy his confidence. Give us 2 weeks, Derrick said. If things aren't better, if he doesn't feel safe and respected, you won't have to pull him out. I'll refund the season myself. The woman hesitated, eyes flicking toward the hallway. 2 weeks. When she left, Maddie exhaled. That's not the only one. I've got 3 more emails flagged today. Derrick rubbed the back of his neck. We'll address every single one. I don't care how long it takes. That night, Derrick sat alone in the office, filling out personnel change forms and drafting a new staff manual. He paused only when he heard a knock. Jason stepped in, holding a folded flyer. Found this in the trash outside. Thought you'd want to see it. Derrick unfolded it. A promotional flyer from a rival academy offering guaranteed game time and elite placement recommendations. The kind of bait that preyed on parents desperate for exposure. They're already moving in, Jason said. They always do when they smell chaos, Derrick replied. He stared at the flyer a moment longer, then tore it in half. We're not going to lose this place, he said. Not to them, not to anyone. Jason nodded, then left without another word. As the facility lights dimmed and the evening wind pressed against the glass doors, Derrick leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the wall of player photos lining the office. He didn't see jerseys or stats. He saw kids who still believed someone had their back. Now, it was time to prove them right. 2 weeks later, the air inside the Eastside Academy felt different but not fixed. The field still had patches of worn turf. The staff still rotated between tasks without pause, and Maddie's eyes still carried a tired edge from stretching 10-hour days into 12. But the dread that once clung to the place had loosened. Derrick sat in the conference room with Ali and Samira, who had accepted the interim head coach role after a call with Derrick and a single walk-through of the facility. Her standards were high, her tone direct, and her expectations clear. Players responded quickly, not because she raised her voice, but because she didn't need to. We need a full-time athletic trainer, Samira said, tapping a short list of flagged player concerns. One of the boys is nursing a persistent ankle issue, and I'm not comfortable with him practicing without clearance. We've been making do, but I won't gamble on a kid's health. Derrick nodded. I reached out to the regional physio team this morning. They can loan someone for 3 days a week until we hire in-house. Illy added, we also need to replace the broken sled. The resistance is uneven and 2 players nearly strained their backs last Friday. Derrick opened a shared doc on his tablet. Already approved, it'll arrive by next Wednesday. I'm also reworking the equipment budget so you can order replacements without waiting on corporate. Samira leaned back slightly, folding her arms. You're serious about this? Most owners would have made a show and walked away. I know what this place was supposed to be. I'm not walking away until it becomes that again. As they wrapped up, Maddie stepped in. She looked thinner than she had a month ago, but her voice had gained something firmer. Quick update, she said, glancing at Derrick. We had a parent meeting this morning, mostly new families. They had questions about how team placements are determined and whether we offer financial aid for travel. You handle it, Derrick asked. She nodded. I gave them the new handbook. Told them how we're evaluating players now on effort and commitment, and explained the scholarship committee we're forming. They asked if I'd be staying on long term. What did you say? I told them I'll stay as long as this place keeps choosing people over profit, she said. They clapped. Derrick smiled, then looked at her a little more carefully. How long since you've had a real day off? She hesitated. A few weeks, but I'm fine. You'll take Sunday, non-negotiable. We'll bring in support from the Westside Academy for the weekend. Illy added, I can handle the field schedule. You've earned at least one full day to breathe. Maddie gave a slow nod. Thanks. Later that afternoon, Derrick walked the perimeter of the field. Jalen, the tall boy who'd once been shouted at for tripping, was working through agility drills on his own. His movements were sharper, now controlled, but confident. Samira observed from a distance, hands behind her back. You worked with him? Derrick asked as he stepped beside her. I gave him tape and let him design his own warm-up, told him to own his routine. Derrick watched as Jalen landed each ladder step without hesitation. Smart approach. He's not uncoordinated, Samira said. He's anxious. That's what no one saw before. His body's fine. It's trust he needed. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Derrick asked, What do you need to stay? Samira turned, measuring him. You want me here permanently, if you're willing. I'll need full control over coaching hires, no interference from regional managers. I train my staff and I set the tone. That's my condition. Done. Behind them, a group of younger players finished water breaks and jogged to the far sideline. No shouting, no fear, just structure and effort. Inside, Derrick visited the admin office where the receptionist flagged him down. Got a call you'll want to hear about, she said. Parent from the Midtown location. Said she heard about what you're doing here, wants to know if you're planning to visit the other academies. He didn't answer right away, she added. She said her son's been benched for months with no feedback. Sounded nervous. Said she didn't want to get anyone in trouble, but she's just tired of being ignored. Derrick picked up the receiver. Can you patch me through? After a short pause, the line clicked and a quiet voice came through. Hello, this is Derrick Grant, he said. I own the academies. I understand you had concerns about the Midtown location. The woman hesitated, then said, I just want to know if you'll come see for yourself. I will, Derrick said, but first we're finishing what we started here. I won't let another site fall through the cracks while I fix the next. After the call, he walked back toward the main corridor, stopping when he saw a girl in oversized cleats sitting on the bench outside the locker room. She looked maybe 12. Her jersey sleeves were rolled high and her expression was focused on her laces. You okay? He asked. She looked up, surprised. Yeah, just waiting for my ride. You play today, scrimmage. I'm usually defense, but coach moved me up to midfield. Said I see the field better than most. She right. The girl grinned. I think so. He sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. You like it here? He asked. I do now. It used to feel like it didn't matter what I did, like the coaches had already decided who was good. But Coach Samira says we earn our spots every week. That's how it's supposed to be. She looked at him for a moment. Are you the guy who changed everything? I'm just someone who should have been paying attention sooner. My mom said you used to be a player. I was, Derrick said. Long time ago. Did someone ever bench you for no reason? He smiled. Yeah, once, but I came back stronger. She nodded, then looked down the parking lot. That's what I'm trying to do. When her mother pulled up, she waved and jogged to the car. Derrick watched her go, then stood and looked back at the facility. Inside, Maddie had begun drafting a revised operations manual. Illy was resetting the field for tomorrow. Jason was quietly organizing the maintenance log, now with actual funding behind it. And Samira was walking through film footage, noting player angles on a clipboard she kept tight to her chest. It would take months to fully rebuild trust. Some families wouldn't return. Some players had already left. But those who remained were building something honest. Derrick stepped back inside, coat slung over his shoulder. He had no illusions about what came next. He would visit Midtown, then North Ridge, then the rest. But he wouldn't just show up as the CEO, he'd show up with his sleeves rolled, clipboard in hand, ready to listen again. Because the moment you stop listening, you stop leading, and he wasn't about to make that mistake twice.